Good afternoon and welcome to News Across the World on SOM TV. I am Herbertson of Talib Bandawa, bringing to you updates across the world. You can watch us live on Facebook at SOM TV and on YouTube, Instagram and TikTok on SOM TV Live. Now the news info. The authority of the Mexican and Thailand are seeking arrest warrant for senior figures behind the Miss Universe beauty pageant, amid allegations of fraud, defamation, and suspected link to organized crime. The controversy surrounds the 2025 edition in Bangkok, where Miss Mexico Fatima Birch was crowned on November 21st, sparking accusations of irregularities. The Thai police are looking for co-owners and Jagrujatip, who has been missing since the Bangkok court issued an arrest warrant in November for fraud charges related to KGN Global Group, the company owning 50% of the Miss Universe. The Mexican authorities also investigating Raul Roche Cantu and other co-owners for alleged crimes. The Miss Universe organization has announced plans to relocate its headquarters of Miss Mexico City to New York, citing legal uncertainties and operational concern. The pageant faces multiple challenges, raising questions about governance, accountability, and global competition. The Australians are observing a day of reflection to honor the 15 victims of gun attacks in Hanukkah celebrations at Bondi Beach in Sydney. The Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has announced a review of the country's law enforcement and intelligence agency, led by the former spy agency chief, to probe gaps in security and information sharing. The attack alleged carried out by a father and son inspired by Islamic State. The spark concern about alpinism and security. The authorities are investigating the shooting as an act of terrorism and targeting Jews. Police have ramped up patrols nationwide to prevent further violence. Albanese has vowed to strengthen his health laws and announced a nationwide gun buyback amidst criticisms and existing law, the guns law and holdups. The government plans ban symbols and flags of terrorist organizations, including Islamic State and Hamas in New South Wales. The Lebanon nearing a completion of disarming Hezbollah south of the Litani River. The Prime Minister Nawaf Salam announced on Saturday the move as part of the US-backed ceasefire agreement with Israel, aiming to establish a state monopoly on arms by year-end. The Lebanese army has been tasked with devising a plan to consolidate weapons, with the first phase almost complete. The ceasefire agreed upon in November 2024 required Hezbollah's disarmament in areas like south of the Litani River with adjoining to Israel. However, Israel have expressed concern about Lebanon's effort and tension, and it remains with Israeli war plans targeting Hezbollah's in southern Lebanon. Hezbollah, backed by Iran, resists disarmament pressure, citing ongoing Israeli air strikes. Israel urges Lebanon to fulfill the terrorist condition, warning it will act as necessary if Hezbollah hasn't disarmed. The situation remains delicate, with regional and international stakeholders closely watching the development. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu plans to brief the US President Donald Trump on potential new strike against Iran's ballistic missiles programs, citing concern over Iran's reconstitution of nuclear enrichment sites bombed by the US in June. The briefing would outline options for attacking the missiles programs again, amid tension between Israel and Iran. Netanyahu's concern stems from Iran's alleged expansion of ballistic missiles programs, which Israel vows as a threat requiring swift action. The US and Israel are been discussing Iran's nuclear activities, with the US having previously bombed Iranian nuclear site. The report citing NBC News could not be verified by Reuters. Netanyahu's office as well the White House have not commented on the matter. 7 elephants were killed and 1 injured in a train accident in northeastern India's Assam state. The Delhi-born train collided with the herds in Hojai district early Saturday, causing the locomotive and 5 coaches to derail. No people were injured, but the incident occurred at a non-designated elephant corridor, The train's pilot applied emergency brakes upon seeing the herds, but the elephant will rush towards the train. The trains are being diverted through another line as restorations continues. The incident highlights concern about wildlife safety and train collision in the region. The Bangladesh held several funerals for Sharif Osman Hadi, a slain youth leader and election candidate amid tension security. Hadi, 32, was shot in the head by masked assailant in Dhaka while launching his campaign for the February election and died in Singapore. The death sparked unrest, including attack on newspapers and cultural institutions. The tens of thousands attended the funerals, including interim leader Muhammad Yunus, who vowed to uphold Hadi's ideals. Hadi was buried in the Dhaka University campus beside national poet Qazi Nazrul Islam's graves. The government declares a days of mourning and urged citizens to resist mob violence by French elements. The right groups, including Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, condemned the violence and urged investigations. The Bangladesh ranked 149th of 180 countries in the world Press Freedom Index. The election on February 12 is seen as crucial for stability, but concerns remain about unrest and civic space. 9 people were killed with 10 wounded in a shooting at a licensed taverns in Bekasdash Township, southwest of Johannesburg in South Africa. The incidents occurred just before 1 a.m. local time, and about 12 unknown suspects in the white minibus and a silver sedan opening fires at patrols and continuing to shoot randomly at the fleet. Authorities have launched a manhunt for the suspect, and the motive is under investigation. The township is characterized by high levels of unemployment and poverty due to the decline in gold mining. The incident is the second mass shooting in South Africa this month, highlighting the country's high murder rate, averting over 60 a day. The police are working to identify the victims and determine the motive behind the attack, and would like to know more about crimes rate in South Africa. These measures need to be addressed to curb violences. Tanzania's governments have denied claim that 10,000 people died in the protests following the October 29 general election, calling the figures false, exaggerated, and politically motivated. The Prime Minister, Dr. Nguzulu Ichemba, stated that the numbers were being used for political and financial gain. The question how such a large number of deaths could occur without clear evidence. The Presidential Committee has been established to investigate the events, and families searching for missing relatives will have their cases reviewed. The government maintains that others were restored lawfully, but opposition groups and the right activists are concerned about the use of forces and lack of transparency on casualties. The actual death tolls remains unclear, with estimates ranging from hundreds to thousands, as Amnesty International reported that security forces use unnecessary and disproportionate forces, killing and injuring protesters. The UN also expressed concern over the use of live ammunition, called for independent investigation. Ghanaian President John Dramani Mahama is being urged to rally African leaders behind the push for slavery operation. The global delegation seeking preparations for transatlantic slavery and colonialism met with Mahama, emphasizing the need of strategic coherence with unity among African leaders. The African Union, AU, launched a drive in February to create a unified vision in preparation, including financial compensation, formal acknowledgement, and policy reforms. The delegation presented Mahama with priority actions in AU's preparation agenda, highlighting the legacy of slavery, colonialism, and the contributed to ongoing racism. And at least 12.5 million Africans were forcefully transported and sold into slavery from 15th to 19th centuries. Ghanaia's Vice President Jane Opoku Agyemang has urged EU members to state support in the UN resolution recognizing slavery as a grave crime against humanity. The push for reparations has gained momentum with forces backlash from European leaders who urges current states could be held responsible for historical wrongs. The delegation is seeking Mahama's leadership to galvanize African support for movement for Ghana's President John Dramani Mahama has been urged to rally African leaders behind the push for slavery reparation. A global delegation seeking reparations for transatlantic slavery and colonialism met with Mahama, emphasizing the need for strategic coherence and unity among political leaders across the continent. The African Union AU launched a drive in February to create a unified vision, including financial compensation and acknowledgement to policy reform. Also, the highlight of the program aims at stopping slavery and colonialism in the region. It is with a great note that a grave crime against humanity has pushed into this very sphere, and it will not be more horrific when things are done this way. Again, the UN Secretary Council has demanded Rwanda withdrawal of its troops from the Eastern Congo and stop supporting the M23 rebels, while also extending the mandates for UN peacekeepers in the region for another year. The decision was made unanimously, with the Council condemning the M23's offensive in Eastern Congo and called all Congolese troops to stop supporting groups like the FDLR. The FDLR is a group founded by Hutus who fled Rwanda after participating in the 1994 genocide. The Rwanda has rejected claims of supporting the M23, saying its troops are in Eastern Congo for defensive measures. The latest M23 advance came despite a U.S. broken peace deals by Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi and Rwandan President Paul Kagame. Earlier this month, the conflict has displaced over 7 million people, creating significant humanitarian crisis. The UN peacekeeping mission known as MONUSCO has been extended for a year, with nearly 11,000 troops and police currently deployed over there. The U.S. has warned it will use available tools against those undermining the peace deal. The U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, has stated that the immediate goals for Sudan is a cessation of hostilities going into the new year, allowing humanitarian organizations to deliver assistance. Rubio emphasized that outside actors, including the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt, with leverage over parties involved and are being engaged by the U.S. to bring about the humanitarian truce. The conflict in Sudan, which began in April 2023, has led to famine, ethnic killings, mass displacement, with over 12 million people displaced and tens of thousands killed. The UAE has been accused of aiming the rapid support forces, but denies the allegation. The previous effort to resolve the conflict led by the U.S., Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the United Arab Emirates has been unsuccessful. The U.S. is pushing for a humanitarian ceasefire, with President Donald Trump stating he will intervene to stop the conflict. The situation in Sudan remains dire, and with humanitarian workers lacking resources to help those affected. The international community is calling for an immediate ceasefire and unhinged humanitarian access. The International Court of Justice, ICJ, will hear the landmark case, accusing Myanmar for committing genocide against its majority. The majority Muslims group in Rohingya from January 12 to 29th, both Gambia and predominantly Muslim West African countries filed a case in 2019, backed by the Organization for Islamic Cooperation, alleging Myanmar commitment has committed genocide against the Rohingya. Myanmar has denied genocide, claiming it cracked down and aimed at Rohingya rebels who carried out attacks. The ICJ has allocated 3 days for hearing witnesses, which will be closed to the public and media. The AUN fact-finding mission concluded in 2017 military campaign by Myanmar included genocidal act that drove 730,000 Rohingya into Bangladesh. The case is being brought into the 1948 Genocide Convention, which defines genocide as act committed with intent to destroy in a whole or in part a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group. The ICJ's findings could set precedents for future genocide cases, including South African case against Israel over in Gaza. And in Venezuela, the government has condemned the seizure of a new oil tanker by the United States, labeling it a serious act of international piracy. The vessel transporting Venezuela's oil was intercepted by the U.S. military personnel in international waters, prompting Venezuelans to denounce the act and announce plans to report it to the United Nations Security Council for other multilateral organizations. The seizures is second such operations in less than 2 weeks, as the U.S. continues to ramp up pressures on Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro. U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem confirms the interceptions, stating that the U.S. will pursue sanctions oil shipments, including narco-terrorism and regions. Venezuela has vowed to take legal action while the U.S. maintains its actions as aimed at curbing illicit movement. The incidents led to the sharp decline in Venezuela's crude oil exports, with many vessels now hesitant to venture into international waters. The United States has intercepted another oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela, marking the second such operations in less than 2 weeks. The U.S. Coast Guard, with support from the Department of Defense, seized Panama-flagged vessels, Centuries, which was carrying approximately 1.8 million barrels of Venezuela's Miraes crude oil bound for China. Venezuela has condemned the actions, labeling it as theft and hijacking, and vowed to file a complaint with the United Nations Security Council. The U.S. Homeland Security Kristi Noem stated that the operations aims to disrupt the illicit movement of sanctions oil, funding narco-terrorism in the region. The incident follows similar operation on December 10th, where the U.S. seized the oil tanker skippers. The U.S. also pursuing another tanker, Bella One, which is believed to be part of the Venezuela's dark fleet trying to avert the sanctions. And that's all on the world news. You can join us to enjoy the rest of our program on Some TV on Facebook and Some TV Live on WhatsApp. Likewise, TikTok and many other Facebook